Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Adult Child of Dysfunction. Today we have with us Lisa Lacy, and I am just going to jump right in, let her tell her story, introduce herself, and then we're going to have I don't know how deep, but we're going to have a conversation for sure. So, welcome, Lisa.
Hi, friends. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here, my friend. My story's long, but we'll keep it short. I have a rare blood disorder, and 2 weeks ago, I suffered my eighth pulmonary embolism, and they take people out 30 to 50% of the time of one event. So it was a midlife come to me moment of reprioritizing and making sure that I had my priorities in the right place. And it was a real epiphany because I love myself today and I'm so happy today. And it made me realize there's not a whole lot that I would change. And coming from a family of chaos and dysfunction and 20 years of addiction, um, you'd think the ending to my story would be completely different. But we are celebrating my husband and I, my happy, healthy marriage husband and I are celebrating 7 years of sobriety in 2 weeks.
Congratulations. Okay, so you just gave me goosebumps when you said you had a pulmonary embolism. So, is that in the brain? Is that a heart
That's
attack?
actually in the lungs. So I have a congenital blood disorder called antithrombin 3 combined with MTHFR and prothrombin gene mutation. My blood likes to clot.
Okay.
So never has it been in my legs. By the time they find it, it's always in my lungs. And it's the strangest thing now. They're just like, we don't know what to do with you. You're on the medication for it. Have a nice day. And they send you home and say, have fun absorbing the clot. But it I'm still here and I'm still doing this work. And it really made me focus on, what is important and am I living the life of my dreams? And I get to say yes to that today. And 10 years ago, if you had asked me that question, I wouldn't even know where to begin. It was so chaotic.
Oh, and it's so, I mean, like I said, this you're gonna die. Well, you're not gonna die, but you're gonna be intrigued because January 20th, I actually had a no reason at all full-blown stroke.
Did you?
And and so you kind of gave me goosebumps when you said that because it gives you a whole different perspective on life. I get that. Like now, so people that have say things like your story, I'm like, I totally get that. But what it also told me is how far I've come
Yeah.
because your
Woo.
self-talk in
I
a
just,
crisis says everything about where you are in your journey and where you
yeah.
are in your happiness because there was none of this, oh, finally I'm done, like blah blah. You know what I mean? I mean, my blood pressure was 222 over 118. They were getting ready to put me in the ambulance and I was just like, God, I don't think you're done with me. Like I feel like I got other stuff to do. So can we speed this along? Like it literally, I took everything I knew healing wise and I pulled that positive white energy into my head and into my bubble
Yes.
around me, which I was outside. So it was a really large bubble and totally. And that's what I got out of it. Like the day after when I was in the ICU, I was like, wow, I've come a long way because my self talk was amazing. Like I was okay. I was peaceful. I was happy. I was, and that's just funny that you came on. I said everything happens for a reason and why you picked this podcast. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And you bring up a very good point about our ability to heal ourselves too, our ability to pull in energy, that we are energy. And there's so much that we can do energetically to help ourselves mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Yep.
So, yeah, definitely I speak health into my body, I advocate for people with rare diseases, but I don't complain about this, if that makes any sense.
No,
The
absolutely. Yeah.
self-talk around it matters, right?
Yep. I mean, just visualization as far as, when a couple days after or a couple weeks after, I was actually on the phone with a friend and my face kind of started getting numb. And my first reaction was like, oh my gosh, but she was an energy healer and she said, we got this, girl, lay down. And within, 10 minutes, I was fine.
Fun.
And it
Hmm.
was, visualize like your brain is doing everything it needs to do right now. It knows how to heal you. We don't need a doctor. You don't, I'm not advocating for don't not going to the doctor if you're having a stroke. Don't take it that way, listeners. But literally she was talking, she was breathing life and energy into me. And yeah, it's people don't give it enough credit, but I get it. You can advocate for people, but it's changing their mindset around it. I mean,
Yes.
you turn somebody into an empowered person that just happens to have this thing instead of it becoming who they are and taking them down. It's makes a
Mhm.
world of difference in how you come out of it.
I love that you make that delineation because these things, the mental illness I struggle with, the mental injury due to the trauma from childhood, the rare disease, it does not define me.
Mhm.
Those are just labels put on me. It's just things that I have to manage, but it is certainly not who I am.
Yeah, it's like I talk to people that have ADHD and th're like, "Oh, I'm an ADHDer." And I'm like, "How about I'm just someone with an amazing amount of energy?" Like,
Yeah, there
how about
you
how
go.
about just label
Exactly.
yourself that way? How about I'm the person that
Exactly.
can get more shit done than you?
Yes, yes. My mania comes in handy sometimes, my friend.
Yeah.
It really
Oh my
does.
gosh. I have a friend at work and he has the most manic sessions ever. And I'm like, dude, stop complaining about it. Get off the couch and use that time to do your laundry. Like, stop. Like, stop. Just
Exactly. The quality of our self-talk matters. And it starts with, unfortunately, it's not a fast process. I wish I could say it has been for me. I work with people one-on-one to help it become faster for them so it doesn't take them 10 years, maybe takes them a few months compared to 10 years, but it's one thought at a time. But
Mhm.
you have to be observant that you're having the negative thoughts to begin with. That's where it starts.
Yep. And then it was funny because the podcast I just did that before this, he was a neuro, basically a neuroscience coach. So
Cool.
we were
Very
talking
cool.
about, you get that thought and you snip it in the bud, like before it
Yeah.
even has time to set in and make that neuro pathway of negativity. You think to yourself, oh, I'm fat. And you stop that, like nip that in the bud and be like, oh no, my body is almost at its perfect weight.
Yeah.
It's all relative. Like just reframe these things. And I just feel like, happiness, success, joy, love, all of that is a choice at the end of the day.
It really is. It really is. Now, and when I work in recovery centers throughout the state of Georgia, and my program, Emotional Intelligence for Recovery from Trauma and Addiction,
Oh, I
is now
love that.
taught. Yeah, it's taught. It's yeah, we need emotional intelligence in our trauma healing. We really do. But
Hmm.
I always talk about the thought may come in. Now that we can't stop, right? They're sneaky,
Hmm.
especially grief, for instance, is hard. A song, a sight, a smell, a person, a phrase, whatever can bring that emotion in. Now that we cannot control, but what we do with it is absolutely a choice. How we choose to move and manage it and process it and think about it is
Hmm.
absolutely a choice.
I tell people all the time, I mean, things are going to happen. Traumatic things are going to happen. So something traumatic can happen and you can either take a traumatic event and turn it into something to learn from, talk about, teach to, or it can just become trauma.
Yep.
Like,
Where's the lesson? Where's the
right,
lesson?
right.
Yeah.
When we're kids, obviously when you talk about being a 20-year addict and growing up in dysfunction, I'm assuming you had some addiction or alcoholism or whatever in your parents. I did. Both my parents were alcoholics. That's kind of why I don't know what I label myself. Nothing. I don't really label myself anything. But if I had to pick something, I would probably just say an adult child empowerment coach because it's all about reframing and reorganizing those thoughts, those limiting beliefs, those habits, all of that stuff that we take in. And so much of it is our identity. Like I love that you said I had 8 pulmonary embolisms. I don't know if I'm going to say that.
Embolisms.
I don't know if
Embolisms.
I said that right, but that's not who you are. It's just
Right.
something that you have to deal with and you can teach through it. You can teach people resilience and positive mindset, mental healing, and all that stuff.
And
So,
truly living your purpose. If
mhm,
there's anybody out there listening right now that is not filled with the happiness, success, and joy that we're talking about, it's out there for you. You have to take the first step towards it. And I think, what you're bringing to mind is the awareness. Self-awareness is step one. Where are you currently at? And changing those thoughts one thought at a time. That's where
mhm.
it's at. One thought
I
at a
heard
time.
I heard a psychologist say one time, and I really need to get this psychologist's name because I use it all the time. But she literally was giving a talk and she said to herself, let's just say she's talking to you, and she says, Lisa, picture your favorite food. Close your eyes and picture your favorite food. And how does it make you feel? Like, picture it. And how do
Oh,
you
I
feel?
just had some New York style pizza that
Oh, amen to that.
so good going down. Yeah.
Right. And you feel warm and you feel cozy and you might want to like wrap up with your husband or whatever and just have that pizza. Now say to yourself, I deserve all good things. And
I
then close
deserve all good things.
and you still have a smile on your face where so many of us don't. So
Yeah.
many people say that and they get a little gut punch or they get a little clench in their jaw or they get a little tightness in their back. And it's because, like you said, that it's that awareness. So if you say that phrase to yourself and you get some kind of physiological reaction, you've got some exploring to do to get to where you want to be. And and it's the simplest test. And when she said that, I was like, wow, that's so easy. So all my clients, I'm like, do it on a weekly basis. Like just do it. Just ask yourself that question and be honest with yourself and sit with it. Because if you get that instinctual, just icky feeling, then you don't truly believe it. And we need to keep going after that. And you can do that for any belief, any thought, any feeling that you're having to test because your body doesn't lie to you. Your body is sending signals. So if you get a physiological response, it's just sending a message that there's more to explore.
Yeah. And it may be some worthiness stuff going on. Growing up
Mm-hmm.
in a toxic, chaotic household with addicts is sets us up for a heightened central nervous system, sets us up with some bad coping mechanisms. It doesn't set us up very well. So, I love the kind of coach that you are. It's almost like helping people reparent themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
We reparent ourselves and uncondition ourselves. And um, yeah, that's heartbreaking to think that people would say, I deserve all good in life and get a reaction of, oh, I don't.
But
Right?
15 years ago, I don't know how old you are. You look very young, but 15, 20 years ago, I couldn't have said that and not gotten some kind of reaction.
Oh, I'm almost 50, by the way. But 10 years
Yeah.
ago, I hated myself, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And
Yep.
and today, after last week, again, it really makes you question, where am I at? What do I think? And I think the big difference, my friend, is that I love myself today. I
Yep.
like who I am. I dig myself as a person, and I think it starts there with that sense of, I am worthy of
Yeah.
feeling okay. Just
Yep.
feeling okay. Remember 15 years ago, even just feeling okay felt bad? You were like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like you
Yeah.
just something. And if it did feel right, even for just a moment, you were probably like, well, something's going to fall, something's going to drop, something's
It
going to
was the
happen. Like,
chaos.
you
Yeah.
know, and it's funny. I was having a conversation with someone who steered away from someone who had the concept of it's too good to be true. And she literally was like, I had to break ties with that person because she was telling her kids, if it seems to be good to be true, it is. And I'm like, no, dream. If it seems to be good to be true, feel blessed that you have it. Feel, take advantage of it. Who cares? And she literally was like, I had to break ties with that person because just the mindset of you don't deserve that happiness. And that's really where it came from, was she just didn't feel that she deserved joy and happiness and things to be great for her. And you will never get ahead with that mindset ever.
And we can have the feeling without having the things. That's the thing. If
Mhm.
we can find the feeling first, then the things will follow.
Yes.
Like, say you want a seven-figure income, guys. Like you want the money to have the things. What's really the feeling of having the money, of having the things that you want. And so you can be sitting where you're at right now and feel the joy of having those things, and then those things follow. But see, we've been taught backwards, right?
Hmm.
We've been taught we've got to hustle, hustle, hustle to get it, not just open up and allow and set the intention and, be open to receiving. And these are skills, I believe, that,
Yes.
that's what you and I do as coaches, right? Is
Yep.
teach people these skills to reframe and reset and reparent and uncondition and find radical self-love. But it's not an easy journey, but oh my gosh, looking back, and I'm sure you did too in January, it was worth every hard step.
Everyone, because I tell you, when you have that love for yourself, you fight for yourself. You fight
Mhm.
to have another day.
Yeah.
Where, 30 years ago, I wasn't fighting to have another day. I could have cared. It didn't matter. I mean, then was getting ready to have a child, and all of a sudden there was a little more purpose. But then that was my drive to learn why I was the way I was, to learn how to change all of these negative things, because I didn't want to be that parent to my kids,
Yeah.
and luckily it worked.
Yeah. Well, I found it. My daughter was 15 when I found recovery. So she had 3 years in the house of watching the recovery journey, but I did not find it when she was young, unfortunately. And so in addition to saving for her college, I saved for her therapy fund too. So
At least you had some
I'll
hindsight,
pay for your
some
college,
insight.
baby. You need a little therapy. I'm gonna pay for your therapy too. But it was good that she saw that. She saw what recovery looks like, and
Yeah.
now she's 23. She does the hustle. She's doing fantastic. She is living life to the fullest, and man, she stands in her own. She stands in her own sovereignty in a way that most of us, here we are 40, 50, 60, just finding it, but she stands in it in a way that I think a lot of us adults could learn from. And
I,
I greatly admire that about her.
it's funny. I have a daughter that's very much like that. She's my free spirit, and she's never had a problem telling people who she is. She's never had a problem voicing her opinion. She's never. And I don't take full credit for that. I take some credit because, but I mean, I feel like, wow, she has more authenticity in her little pinky than I had 20 years ago, when she was 3.
Exactly. It's so strange to watch, isn't it?
Yes.
No,
And I
she
love it.
drives like I used to. That's the only thing. She drives like I used to. So I'm like, oh, you need to slow down. You need to slow down driving a little bit. She's not the best driver, but other than that, she's got it going for herself. So
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
it's
we love to see that. And, for
yeah.
the people out there listening that are listening to this story, there's another positive story for you, because here is Lisa saying, I didn't do probably the right things, but it's okay. My children turned out healthy and happy. And because I know there's a lot of people out there that are beating that, especially in recovery. That's a big part of healing during recovery, is that guilt that you quote unquote failed when you were not in recovery. And that's a big pile of BS, but I don't want to get into all that. We can get into all that. But here you have Lisa. I mean, you're not beating yourself up right now. You could wallow in that, and you're not. You
I
grow.
did have to go through mom guilt though. There
Oh,
was a lot
yeah.
of mom guilt I had to work through, but I had to eventually realize the best apology is changed behavior, and I changed my behavior and I made amends, and I stand here now a totally different person. And listeners out there, that's all you can do. So start today. No more
Hmm.
beating yourself up. Choose
Yeah.
today to be the day that you decide you're going to turn everything around for you, because it is
Amen.
possible to find peace and joy and happiness, and it's possible for you. If
Absolutely.
we are sitting here, two ordinary people, and we found it, coming from chaos and toxic conditioning, then you can find it too. And yeah, my kiddo turned out just fine, a little too fine sometimes. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what to say?
Right. Right.
Because mom always gets the worst part, right? Mom always gets it the worst. She's such a sweetheart to everybody else. I'm like, oh, kiddo. Yeah. Who comes to fix the window in the mailbox? That would be me.
There you go. There you go. Still not a good driver, huh? She's
Yep,
not.
still not a good driver. No, he's
That
still
is
not a good
funny.
driver.
But that's great. I could literally talk to you all day. I think we probably have way more in common than 30 minutes is going to allow us today on this Potapalooza podcast fest, I guess you could call it. But Lisa, if people want to work with you, how do they reach out to you? All of this is going to be in the show notes. I'm going to put everything. So just tell them the quickest, easiest place to get to you.
Quickest place to get to me is going to be my website, and it's easy to find. It's lisa-lacy.com. That's Lisa-Lacy, no E.com. Lisa Lacy, lisa-lacy.com. I also have my own podcast called Scary Calm. You can find it on Spotify. It's where emotional intelligence meets real life, and we have guests of all healing modalities on there once a week. So those are the best two places. If you go to my website, there's a free gift of a good vibrations tool that I created as an emotional intelligence tool. You can download that for free off my website.
Ah, sounds great. We all need a little emotional intelligence, and we need to not get it when we're in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, but we need to start teaching our children emotional intelligence when they're 6, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8.
We do. But for
Start.
us, it's never too late. It's never too
No,
late
no, no,
for us.
no.
But let's teach it to our kids so they don't have to go through what we went through. How about that? I
Yeah,
love it.
exactly, exactly. And I love the fact that kind of like I'm on the same page as you, as I just always say, through my journey and through my trials and errors and all of the stuff I went through, that's why I do what I do, probably the same as you, because I can get someone the transformation that it took me 10 years of wallowing through and working on and doing all of this. I can help somebody get there and like that. And
Before we go, just one last thing. Having a personal coach makes all the difference in the world. I have a holistic psychiatrist. I do have my therapist, but my team of coaches help me move forward rather than continuing to play backwards. And I
yes,
think that's the biggest difference in having a coach. My coaches have been instrumental in my forward momentum.
absolutely. I 100% agree. 100% agree. So if you could leave, I don't want you to leave yet. I want you to tell the listeners if you could leave them with something today, besides the you need a coach thing, some words of wisdom or something to take with them today or something they can do on a daily basis that just makes their day a little better, what would it be?
I think just face the truth, friends. Where are you at today? Create some self awareness, do some deep breathing around it, find your natural breath in it. And if it makes you uncomfortable, decide to make some small steps for changes today. And it can be as simple as driving to work a different route, start there. It can be as simple as 5 minutes of journaling in the morning. It can be as simple as 2 minutes of breathing in the middle of your day. Just start somewhere.
Amen. I love that. I could not have said it any better myself. So thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on.
Thank you, my friend. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Oh, yes. And for
I have a
everybody out
feeling
there,
our work is not done. I'll be in
oh,
touch.
oh, not even close, not even close. And I feel like, again, I feel like everything is divine intervention. There's a reason that people bring these podcasts together. There's just a reason. It's nothing is by coincidence. So if you're out there listening and you're like, wow, I would love to get on that podcast, or I want to tell my story. I just want to ask questions. Do it. Just reach out because no matter how hard you've had it, your story, although it's unique to you, these things have happened before, and there's so many people out there. So you sharing your voice could save another life.
It could.
So talk to people, reach out, share, have a group, get a coach, whatever you need to do. Just every single tiny thing you could do is one step in the right direction towards your ultimate joy and peace. And you so deserve it. So you
Right
all
on.
have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye bye now.
Bye.